This is the story of Urban Road. A murder of crows on Urban Road a few years ago, on a seemingly uneventful day. Beneath grayish, mottled skies, she proceeded to back out the old, faded, dusty dark green Cadillac from the driveway onto Urban Road, which was covered in gravel and located in a small, forgotten town, perched precariously somewhere deep in the Ozark Mountains. The neighborhood consisted of mature trees, peeling paint, and a dirty single-pane wooden framed windows which had long ago lost their luster, their color. The once crisp, pretty white, lacy curtains were now water-stained, yellowed, fraying. Many of the homes were over 100 years old. A few had been abandoned for decades. Funny, thinking back to that fateful day, she couldn't remember if it was spring, summer, fall, or winter, or whether it was hot or cold, but it was daylight. There were errands to tend to. Bills had to be mailed. Certain groceries needed to be replenished, and the old Cadillac needed fuel. There had been a new moon the night before, surrounded by a ghostly ring, while strange, silent, fast-moving, ominous clouds roamed boldly through the skies, oftentimes hiding the full moon from view. Elusive mists swirled mysteriously below in the deep mountain gorges. Water trickled from towering cliffs alongside the narrow, winding, steep dirt roads. The towering, scruffy pines were whispering, much louder than usual, but she barely noticed. Come to think of it, all the wind chimes under the carport could be heard inside the house at different intervals during that restless night, which actually did seem a little eerie. The house creaked and groaned, and it sometimes sounded like someone was walking over the tin roof with heavy steel-toed work boots on. At one point, she was jolted out of a dead sleep by what sounded like 3 heavy knocks on the kitchen door. She decided not to go anywhere near the kitchen door, pulled the covers up over her head, and went back to sleep. After barely straightening out the faded old Cadillac on Urban Road, there appeared quite suddenly a murder of murderous crows all around her. Or were they ravens? They were very large and appeared very angry as they proceeded to descend not only on her faded old caddy, but also on the few bushes beside the road and atop the mailbox. They made the bushes look small. The large birds came out of nowhere. She had never seen that many crows at one time. Some attacked the windshield, others the back window. Some flew on the hood of the vehicle, and others landed on the road right in front of the car where they couldn't be seen. They badly wanted to get inside the car for some unknown reason. She slammed the brakes on, afraid she might run over them. The stench of dying crows in the neighborhood was not something she wanted to deal with, and probably nobody else did either. The oversized crows were growling hoarsely and cawing rather loudly, their beady dark eyes glaring at her through the windshield. Their large, strong beaks were violently pecking at the windows as they flapped their enormous, black, tattered wings for more leverage. She was, needless to say, taken aback and didn't know what to think, and certainly didn't know what on earth to do. She sensed a strong hatred coming from the birds and felt the need to get away from these strange, oversized, black, feathered creatures. As one can imagine, a lot of different thoughts were racing through her mind. She was, to say the least, very puzzled. Never before had she experienced anything like this. No one was outside their yards or on the road that she had noticed. Was there anyone peering out their windows or doors? If they were, would the birds be visible to them? She had experienced some strange things in her life, but this whole episode was, to say the least, quite unnerving. She shuddered to think what might have happened if she had walked out to the road instead of being safe in her car at that moment in time. One thing she knew for sure: they were not behaving like normal crows. Thinking about the whole experience, at a later point she wondered if they were actually really birds. Was it possible they could be dark spirits manifesting as crows or ravens? Or was this some sort of warning? Sometimes even nature, they say, is used to warn us. Should she have waited till the next day to run her errands? If she had tried to go back in the house, would they have come after her? She certainly felt like they would have. Wait a minute. Was it possible they had been sent as a malicious attack, part of a curse? She had overheard hushed whisperings of a much feared ancestor being a powerful black magic practitioner. She often wondered if the craft had been handed down to a certain someone in the family, but then that's another story. She decided to go ahead with her plans and start off for town anyway, hoping and praying her car wouldn't break down. Hopefully, this attack had not affected her or her vehicle in some weird way. She eased the vehicle forward, hoping there were no ravens or crows under any of the tires, when all of a sudden, things became extremely quiet. She looked behind the car, and no birds had been run over. Thank goodness. She checked her car mirrors, but to her utter surprise, the birds had all completely and mysteriously vanished. There was not one crow or raven to be seen anywhere. She had been expecting them to follow her. She even parked the car at the bottom of the street and turned around in her seat for a better look. What had just happened, and why had it happened? Would she gradually find answers, or would she need to go through years of research? How does one go about finding answers to those kinds of questions? To some who may be reading this story, has this or similar experience ever happened to you or anyone you know? And that's how I heard it.